Hello everyone and welcome back to Lucky Loaders 15, where I'll be giving you 4 of my best bets for tomorrow's horse racing action. Now first of all, I'll just reflect on how our selections ran today. In the end, we did come out with a profit as our the Navigator, was a comfortable scorer at Catterick. It was a nice ride by Paul Moran and he got him into a nice rhythm, and then when he delivered him pretty much with 2 furlongs to go, you could tell that he was going to end up winning the race, and there was a lot of money around for him as well. We put him up at 13-2 each way last night, and then when I looked first thing this morning, he'd gone into 4-1. So obviously a few of you guys and a few other people out there thought he had a really good chance, and he went and obliged. So that was a really good result for us there with the Navigator. Elsewhere, unfortunately, our other 2 selections did let us down. Thibaut, he failed during the race when going okay, so I suppose you can forgive him that run, but that is disappointing. And then our other selection, Afro Blue, he kind of was slowly away, and then he made up a lot of ground, and he at one point when they come into the home turn, he looked like he was definitely at least going to place, and then he's just finished very weak inside the last half furlong or so. Very disappointing, very similar to his run at Doncaster, and I just wonder maybe if he needs a bit of headgear to waken him up a little bit, to make him more focused in the finish, maybe a pair of blinkers or some cheek pieces or something, just to give him a bit of life. I feel he needs a bit of headgear, but I probably won't back him next time out if he runs unless he's got headgear. So for me, Afro Blue, he's not off the list quite yet, but I would be very interested in him if they were going to put some equipment on him, because I think that might be the key to just getting that attitude in the right mindset for him, because I think he is talented in these races in this kind of grade. But yeah, he's just got to have his attention on the job a lot more. But yeah, so it wasn't a bad day today, and hopefully we can continue the day on tomorrow. I'm still working at Sky, so I've actually spent a lot of time still researching the races, so hopefully I can give you some winners. And we're actually going to be covering 2 races at Newton Abbot tomorrow, one at Ayr and one at Lingfield, and we're going to start at Newton Abbot with my extra tip. This goes in the 220, and I'm going with a horse here called Gigi White for Adam Wedge and Evan Williams. You can currently back this horse at 13-2, and I'm going to recommend an each way bet here. Now this horse has had a couple of hard luck stories so far in his career for Evan Williams. On the first start of the season at Uttoxeter, on his reappearance, he was quite well fancied. He was a 6-1 shot on the day, and unfortunately he got brought down very early on in that race through no fault of his own. Horse fell in front of him, and then he just got brought down, so that was unlucky there. Last time out was a lot better. He showed a good attitude and travelled very well for a long way, but then just got tired, and that was probably his first full run of the season. I think he'll come on for that tomorrow. He's actually going to be making his chase debut, and it's interesting that they're pitching him in here because he gets a 4-year-old allowance and he's off a mark of 94, and in a race really where a lot of these horses, they've got a lot to prove. He's still got a lot to prove, but with him being with Top Connections and him showing ability and getting the weight for age allowance as a 4-year-old, because you do get the weight for age allowances as a 4-year-old when taking on the older horses in the National Hunt game, he's going to have a lot of things in his favour tomorrow, and I think the ground and the track will be up his street as well. And he used to be with Jer Lyons, believe it or not, and he's by Dark Angel, and you wouldn't have thought many Dark Angel's progeny would be ending up over fences, but I think he's got an attitude for it, and I think if he's getting into a nice rhythm at 13-2, I think he can go very close tomorrow to winning this race. I don't think it would take that much for him to win. And at 13-2, I'm willing to side with him, with Evan Williams, who does go under the radar in the summer. He does all right. He tends to have a few winners here and there, and I think he's got a good chance tomorrow. We then go to the 320, and this is going to be my next best at Newton Abbot. Now, when I was doing the form clips for Sky tomorrow, I came across Pagero here, and I remember him from last season because he was the subject of a massive gamble for John Joe O'Neill when he won. I think it was an apprentice handicap at Huntington, and then he went to Doncaster when he was made 4-11 odds on in a 13-runner race, you know. So they obviously thought that you had a solid chance, and he went and absolutely coast home to victory. Now, it wasn't an emphatic win by the way of the winning margin, but it was the way he travelled through his race and pretty much won on the bridle. suggesting that he had plenty more in the locker. Now, he was getting the advantage of those 4-year-old weight for age allowance that I was explaining about, but he went up £15 to a mark of 121, and I still think that that's a fairly workable mark. Now, it's interesting that if they think he's that well handicapped, why are they going to be running him over hurdles tomorrow at Newton Abbot in the summer? That is an interesting point, and maybe it is a slight negative. But I was talking to a couple of guys at Sky today, and we were saying that probably this is going to be a prep run to go a novice chasing, but I still think nonetheless he's got a good chance on his handicap form to go very close in a race of this nature. Even though he's not been seen for a while, that doesn't concern me at all, because John Joe O'Neill can get one ready first time, and at 2-1 that might be a bit short for some people, but I think Pagero is in a league of his own here. John Joe O'Neill Jr. but for the ride. Very talented, upcoming rider, doing really well these days. And for me, I think there's a lot in his favour. So Pagero, for me, at Newton Abbot in the 320, I think he's got a lot of things in his favour. We then go to my Longshot, which runs in the 410 at we're going with a horse here called Dandy's Angel for David Nolan and John Wainwright. Now, this horse, again, is going to be getting the weight at age allowance tomorrow, and ran a very nice race when finishing 5th at Ayr last time, and was deeply unlucky not to be more involved that day. Wasn't beaten that far. And this horse, I think, has been crying out for a little bit more ease in the ground. It's by Dandy Man, whose progeny tend to act very well on soft and heavy ground. There's going to be a deluge tomorrow at they're expecting a lot of rain, so it should get on the soft side. And if it does, I think that will suit Dandy's Angel. He hasn't run on soft ground before. He's run on good to soft, but I think he's been crying out for a bit more ease. I think he'll really enjoy it. And I think off his current mark in the low 60s, that's definitely very workable. He's shown a nice attitude, and he's placed quite a few times in his career, but I think he's ready now to make his breakthrough. And even though he's taken on the older horses, this isn't a great bunch of horses, and I think he can make his presence felt. And at 12-1, I think that's a big price. I think there's, again, a few things in his favour tomorrow, and for me at 12-1, I'm going to recommend an each way bet as my long shot. We then have to wait for the evening action in the last race of the day at Lingfield for the nap, and I'm going to go with September Power here. You can currently back this horse at 11-2. Going to recommend the Dirt Each Way with 4 places, and that's on offer with a few firms. Now, this horse is trained by Roger Varian and Sylvester de Souza, the retained rider for the King Power Group, is booked for the ride. Now, this horse has been maybe a little bit disappointing so far, but I thought it's got a lot more to offer in handicaps. Now, this horse finished 6th on her handicap debut at Windsor last time out, over 1 mile and 2, and she stayed on really strongly, doing all her best work at the end. Now, she was made joint favourite for that race, and Sylvester de Souza, who was aboard that day, didn't give her a hard time at all in the last couple of furlongs. She was a real eye-catcher, and she suggested going up and trip should be a massive positive. Now, she's off a mark of 62. She gets the 3-year-old allowance. She's taken on her own sex, so that's 2 angles there that I really like. And off her mark of 62, I think she's got a lot more to come. She's by Master Craftsman as well, who you would think going up and trip, that would really suit. That's a statistic that normally goes in his favour. A lot of Master Craftsmen tend to stay very well because he was a good stayer himself. And for me, September Power, with the powerful connections, you would think that they would do a lot better with a horse like this. And if they thought it was no good, they would have cast it off. So I think there is a race to be won with her, and I think tomorrow could be it. So I think at 11-2, there's a lot in her favour, and I'm going to take a chance there as my nap and recommend the Dirty Each Way 11-2 with 4 places. So they're the 4 tips for tomorrow. Quickly just recap. In the 220, we go to Newton Abbot. GG White is my extra tip, 13-2 each way. In the 320 at Newton Abbot, we go with Pagero. That's the next best at 2-1 win only. 410 Dandy's Angel is the long shot at Ayr. 12-1 each way, and then the nap goes at Lingfield. September Power 11-2 each way, 4 places, and fingers crossed we can end on a high. So if you haven't done so already, please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel at LuckyLoaders15. If you want to follow me on Twitter as well, that's the best place to follow me on social media, where my handle is at LuckyLoader15. And if you want to find out a little bit more about myself, why do you not check out my my website, which is www.chrisloaderracing.co.uk. So please gamble responsibly. Hopefully we can have some winners tomorrow, and we'll be seeing you soon.